Hello, all right, so we're back in the windy Portsmouth, and this week we have got Jinx Prowse.
We were very poor as a family, so there was no food, there were no clothes, there was no money. I never got an opportunity.
How was school for you then?
Failed at every single school I went to and was told I was stupid and told I would never get anywhere. On the first year of my degree, I sat and went to the 60 people on my course and said, right, I'm teaching it now, blah, 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 and taught the first year of my degree. When a young person gets to 13, their music defines who they are. The NHS say we work with the most complex and vulnerable young people that can be. And our main aim is to break that cycle that that young person's gone through. 9 out of 10 of my staff are young people who have come from worst housing estates. In my interview, when they turned around and said, okay, we're going to give you 6 months, but where do you see this organisation in 10 years' time? And my final slide came up and it just said, I don't know, but it will be loud, it will be bright, and it will be colourful.
Jinx, we're here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks for being a guest on the show, man.
Welcome to Music Fusion.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It's a nice place, great studio.
Very studio.
Honestly, it really is. Really, I've got a brand new. I like it. It's really good. But yeah, man. So yeah, thanks for coming on the show. So I always start off with a tradition we have, and it's I love to give people an introduction, but I always like the guest or yourself to give your own introduction. So in a nutshell, who is Jinx Prowse?
Wow. See, as someone who tends to take questions quite literally, that's a really difficult question. So I'm going to say I'm a human being trying to bring more kindness to the world.
Nice.
Is that all right?
No, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's your intro. That's great, man. That's
Okay.
great. Yeah, no. So I guess we'll take it back then. So, are you from Portsmouth? Or did you grow up around here?
No. My mum was born in Gdansk, occupied Poland in 1943.
Okay.
I was born in Germany and then kind of lived my formative years in Germany and the UK. We're currently in Music Fusion in Havant, and a few hundred yards in this direction is an area of Lee Park, which at the moment is the third most educationally, socially and financially deprived area in the country. And that's where I kind of grew up in this country, over there. I kind of got into a huge amount of trouble and was kicked out of the estate at 16 years old. And thought I'd never ever come back, on pain of being beaten to within an inch of my life. And so to find myself back here, working with the same families that were the families next generation down, or next couple of generations, but it's still the same families there doing the same things. So yeah, in a weird way, I've ended up back here. I live in Portsmouth at the moment. That's where I ran to when I got kicked out of this town.
Okay. I mean, so yeah, take me back then. So, formative years, you reached 16. When did you move to Lee Park then?
About 7.
About 7.
But I would spend 6 months in Lee Park and then 6 months in Germany. 6 months in Lee Park,
Okay.
6 months in
Whereabouts in Germany?
different places, Ringtown, Hanover, Celle. Most of my time in Celle.
Ah, fair. Can you speak German?
So, being dyslexic, in this country, thankfully, we don't have masculine, feminine, or neutral when it comes down to English language. We don't have formal and informal. And unfortunately, in Germany, I once made the mistake of talking to my grandfather informally in front of a whole bunch of people. And I got told off really badly for how poor my German was. And then I would always get my masculine, feminine, and neutral mixed up. And so I had my entire childhood being told I mustn't speak German because you'll only embarrass yourself and people around you.
Wow.
So, yeah, I can. Do I feel confident about it? No.
Fair. No, fair enough. I mean, so cool. You came to Lee Park when you were 7. What was it like in Lee Park? You said it was quite. You had the characters, let's say.
Yeah. So when I turned up, I only spoke German.
Okay.
I'm on the autistic spectrum, so if I chose to speak, I would only speak in German.
Okay.
So when I came over here, I did not fit in very well. Brought up in a matriarchy, feminist matriarchy, which does not go down well in 1970s Lee Park. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how was school for you then? You said you. Yeah.
I went to a lot of different schools.
Okay.
Failed at every single school I went to. Was told I was in the remedial classes in every school I was in, and was told I was stupid, and told I would never get anywhere. In fact, the general impression was I would never make it out of school. My mum took a life insurance policy out on me at 10 years old, and it ran out at 16 because no one really expected me to make it at 16.
Wow.
I almost believed them that I was stupid. And then at 26, when I decided to go back and get my education, and filled out my form to do my BTEC, they said, "Oh, we think you're dyslexic. Can we take a test?" And they did the test, and it turns out I'm really smart, really bright, but not in a conventional academic way.
Okay.
And it turns out that, I've got a lot of skills out there which weren't spotted in my childhood, shall we say.
Class. Okay. So 7, we're in Lee Park. Do the school years. Not great times. 16 then. You said that was quite a turning point.
Yeah, I left Lee Park and went to Portsmouth.
Okay.
And had nothing. We were very poor as a family, so my clothes I would find in bins. I would quite often during the week eat out of the bins. There was no food, there were no clothes, there was no money. So I was forever dirty and hungry and cold and wet. And so when I got to Portsmouth, I decided, fresh start, I'm going to sort my life out.
Okay, so 26. Why back to education?
So someone turns around. I've always been good with computers, really good with computers. For the fact I'm dyslexic, I'm really good at like abstract maths, physics, quantum mechanics. Never was able to own a computer in my life. Never had the money for a computer. And then I just happened to be wandering through the University of Portsmouth at a degree show or something, and there was this room. Apologies. There was this room full of computers. And they were all generating 3D animations and stuff. And I just looked at that and thought, I want to be doing that. So I said, how do I get onto this? And they said, it's a degree course. You haven't got any GCSEs or anything. You're going to have to go in from the beginning, do your BTEC level 1, your BTEC level 2, your HND, 3 years before you can even start the degree. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it, yeah. Okay. I walked, again, so being on the autistic spectrum, I've learned to be a bit more self-conscious, but back then I didn't realise I was autistic or whatever. And so on the first sort of few months of my course, I was highly disappointed with how they were teaching it. Okay. This was the degree,
So you've done your 3 years?
Done my 3 years, excelled, got distinctions the whole way, Okay. But on the first year of my degree, I sat there and went, I don't think the people teaching this have the skills, the experience, or the energy to actually keep up with the industry and teach it appropriately. And I said this in front of 60 students and all of the teachers. And the lecturer who I said it to burst into tears and said, well, Jinx, why don't you teach it? And walked out of the room. Not really understanding social niceties. So I went, okay, and turned around to the 60 people on my course and said, right, I'm teaching it now, blah, 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 and taught the first year of my degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until they got in staff that were able to actually teach it.
Oh my God.
So again, I tried to be less obnoxious nowadays, but yeah. And then I got 98% of my degree, which at the time they said was the highest pass rate they'd ever had. Maybe it still stands, but again, if you teach a degree, you've got all the modules, you know what the scoring is. I mean, everyone had this, but I just ticked every box and got every point.
98%. That is, wow, it's genius, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, computers, quantum physics, all this stuff. So you finish your degree. Where to next?
So I've got my first class degree in computer visualization. Yeah.
Okay.
And I sit and go, okay, let's go and look for a job. And I like music, always have. And the thing about the computer games industry or the computer industry, it's very fast paced. It's late nights. It's sleeping under your desk, eating pizza. And when it comes down to actual, deadlines, you might spend 3 weeks actually in the office meeting that deadline. Bearing in mind, I was 30 at the time, 31 or something, I just thought I don't want to live that life. So even though I had the qualification that would lead me into that industry nicely, I noticed an advert in a job working for something called a music service.
Okay.
They wanted someone to come in and run a project to set up and run local community steel pan bands, samba bands, junk percussion, and African djembe percussion. And they wanted me to run this over all of Hampshire. And then they said gamelans. And did you know what a gamelan is?
What is a gamelan?
A gamelan is tuned percussion. And that was the one that absolutely sold it. I love gamelans. They're like mathematics, drums, music, all mixed together. Yeah. And so when they said we need someone to develop these gamelan resources, set up 4 gamelan orchestras and run them, I thought, oh, this is amazing. So I applied for the job, got it, which was good. And for a few years ran something called the Solent Music Project.
Okay.
And then worked for the music service a bit more around delivering peripatetic teaching within Portsmouth. So if ever there was anyone who had a violin lesson, I provided the violin teacher, the violin, I liaised with the class and everything, so there we go. And then it was a boring job, I'll give you. And then one day I went into a school that was called St. Luke's at the time, and it's now called Charter Academy.
Okay.
Which is in currently the Charles Dickens, or the third most socially deprived area in the country.
Wow.
Back then, I think it was the third as well. It goes to show how over 20 years nothing's changed. But I went into the school and was presented with 20 children who had been expelled from the school. But because they had nothing in their lives outside of the school, every Monday they would break in to the school where all their friends were and cause mayhem. Yeah. So they turned around and said, Jinx, will you run a music thing on a Monday just to keep these kids out of other people's classes? And I remember I got sponsorship from Roland. It was big, like all the equipment and everything.
Really?
They gave me a whole building, gave me these 20 expelled kids. And on the day one I turned up, this Arctic lorry loads up to the building we're in, opens it up, and I turn around to the first young person and go, will you help me unload? And this kid sat there going, you don't even know my effing name, what the F are you? I said, I'm Jinx, what's your name? They told me their name. Okay, help me unload this stuff. And they went, yeah, okay. And we unloaded it. Now, to get a grade in music, it takes a year to get a grade.
Yeah.
So it takes 5 years to get to grade 5. Yeah? But we were delivering something called the Rock School Trinity program, where you could get a grade 1 in rock guitar, rock bass, rock drums. You could get a grade 1 in junk percussion, in human beatboxing or whatever. It was an attempt to make grades more accessible. These 20 kids, I had them all Monday, every Monday. In 1 year, guess what grade they got to?
Go for it.
Grade 5.
Wow.
Because that's all the education they had. That was the only thing they were doing. And they absolutely rocked it. Now, what I learnt there was I got more satisfaction, and I made more of a connection, and I made more of an impact with those 20 kids than I had done with anything else in my life.
Wow.
And that's when I realised, no, I shouldn't be working with violas and 10-year-olds in good graded Ofsted schools.
Yeah.
I need to be working with the kids like me who never had the opportunity. I never got an opportunity. And in fact, what you're doing through music is you're starting a dialogue, and through lyric writing, you're starting a thought process. There's so much contextually that or on a meta level that sits on top of that music that can be a useful tool in becoming a healthy grown-up. I just dedicate all my time to working with the roughest kids.
Okay.
And then my boss, a guy called Andrew Atkins, who is no longer with us, came in one day and put down a copy of The Guardian Ed with an advert for a post, and it was circled. He'd circled it. And he said, Jinx, you need to apply for this. Your skills, what did he say? He said, your skills and something like compassion are wasted in this job. Yeah, apply to that one. And it was to run a government project doing contemporary music, so all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, I'll do it. Mm-hmm. So I applied for the job, looked at the job spec, and was surprised, that the job spec, when you looked down into it, was to shut this organisation down appropriately. Okay. Yeah. So it had been running for a couple of years, had maybe nearly £1 million put into it, and had accessed no young people. None. And they'd been sat in a government building, supposedly didn't know where the young people were, didn't know how to communicate with them. They weren't allowed YouTube, they weren't allowed Facebook or anything on their government computers. Just digitally, they were in a completely different world than our young people were existing in. So I went in there and I said, hi, I know you actually want someone to shut this organisation down appropriately, but I reckon I can make it work. And I know I've come into this interview for one job just to get in through the door, and in fact I have no HR experience whatsoever. I lied. I reckon I can make it work. And an hour later they stopped advertising for that job and re-advertised for another job for someone to save the organisation. And I was the only person who applied for it, and I went in and I got the job. And I had a 6-month probationary period, and in that 6 months I had to come up with a business plan that would work. My business plan was, this can no longer be a government project. You're too slow. Your architecture, technically, politically, academically, from an administrative point of view, is so slow and broken that it can't support these young people. I think we should be a charity, and we need to 2p all of the computers and money and everything away from the government and over to this new limited company I've just set up with charitable status. It took me 2 years to 2p the organisation over, and hence Music Fusion was born.
That's how it was born. Wow. Yeah. And what year was that? How long was this?
2008 was when I was employed, and it was 2007 when I was employed, and it was 2009 when we managed to move into this building and set up and run as a registered charity.
Wow. And you said you had a 6-month probationary period. Yeah. How was that? It
was brilliant. Yeah. So So in my interview, when they turned around and said, "Okay, we're going to give you 6 months, but where do you see this organisation in 10 years' time?" And my final slide came up, and it just said, "I don't know, but it will be loud, it will be bright, and it will be colourful." And they just went, "What business plan? You got the job." Yeah. So in that sense, I've always been working towards that. Yeah. We are a company, we're a limited company by guarantee, with charitable status, but we are very much more a community, we're a family. The people who, so as an example, 2011, a young person was referred to us called Matt, and Matt was in a lot of trouble. Very much reminded me of me at his age, yeah. And you could see that wherever he was going, it would either be dead or prison. Very much the same mentality as I had. He came here for a couple of years. He kind of turned his life around, and then he volunteers for a couple of years, and then became a music leader for a couple of years. And now he's a program manager and runs national projects. Wow. However, he taught Kiz, who's been here about 10 years. And now Kiz is teaching Leon, who's been here about 6 years. So 9 out of 10 of my staff are young people who have come from the worst housing estates, from the places where I grew up, have been given the opportunities that I never had, and have succeeded more than I would ever achieve at their age. So we're not a company, we're a bunch of people doing the right thing, and we've got money behind us. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh wow! So in the early days, was it? Did they give you people, or did you have to go out
Oh
and
yeah.
find
So
them? Or
initially we had a remit to access and engage young people through credible music. Yeah. Turns out that's quite a competitive market. We did 0 to 18, I believe. So we did 0 to 5s, early years, yeah. So running around with all the little kids, you know, tambourines and stuff. And, you know, we worked up to 18, and it was very much doing what everyone else was doing in the community music sector. And I realised, for one, there were young people that had been missed, yeah. So the young kids that weren't at school weren't getting to find out about this provision.
okay.
The kids who would run every time an adult turned up round there's something our young people do, it's a star shape, yeah. You put a policeman in the middle of a group of young people and they don't just run off, they run off in like 5 different directions so the police can't, you know, it's going to pick one of them, yeah. So this notion of, you know, young people just start starring every time an agency tried to work with them, yeah. It's just like, no, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. And there are young people out there I know who went through what I did. So it was about 6, 7 years ago we turned around and said we're no longer open access. We're just going to take referrals. Yeah. So we turned around to the youth offending team, youth crime prevention team, children's services, all the special schools within the area, all the other charities like Mind and Motivate, and CAMS, the Children Adolescent Mental Health Services. And we turned around and said, hey, if ever you've got a young person who is not engaging with any other agency, but they've just got their headphones in all the time, send them to us, because we ran them into their music. And overnight it just worked. The police call us a credible third party. We're not parents, we're not teachers. Yeah. The youth crime prevention team and the youth offending teams work across all of Hampshire. So we get young people come Basingstoke, Winchester, Bournemouth, Crawley, Liss, Farnham, Aldershot, yeah.
Wow.
And they will, it's for a 2-hour session, they will travel like 2 hours down from Aldershot, arrive here early, yeah, hang out in the office with me and Mike, we just catch up in their week, do their 2-hour session, hang around at the end, help pack up, maybe help with the next session and then go home. Okay. It's a whole day out for them, and maybe it's the only thing in their week, yeah. So we did that. And then it just started getting, we started getting more and more complex cases.
Okay.
And now the NHS say we work with the most complex and vulnerable young people in the county. So we get funding from the NHS at the moment to work with neurodiverse people in a moment of trauma.
Okay.
So it turns out if you're on the autistic spectrum and you're having a really bad time, and they put you in hospital, it doesn't help. Yeah, autistic people don't thrive well in hospital, in bright, noisy environments, or someone with ADHD who's been told to stay in the bed for 3 days. It's like, no, you'll find me down at the local McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? So, turns out the hospital can be damaging for people on the spectrum who are going through really tough times. Yeah. So we get a really good amount of money from the NHS to give these young people something else to do. An example is there's a young person who came to us, and every week they would have 2, sometimes 3 admissions to hospital. And those admissions were around self-harming.
Okay.
Now, the NHS couldn't afford to keep patching this young person up, so they referred that young person to us. This young person loves their music, and now every week they come and they sit at Music Fusion and they sing and write songs about what they're going through. In the last 10 weeks, they have not been admitted to hospital once.
Wow, that's really cool.
So now we just work with the most hardcore young people out there.
Okay. What kind of music style or genre is it? Is it mainly, because I've looked at it, is it mainly like rap and drill, or is it whatever they're into? How do you gauge that?
So the line we use, yeah. My name's Jinx, I'm the CEO, I get the money in. Mike, my operations manager, spends the money. But our young people will just tell us what to spend it on. We are big on youth voice. Even though I've got like 50 years experience in music, Mike has got 40 years experience in music, we're not the experts. The young people are. So yeah, what styles of music happen at Music Fusion? On a Monday morning, we used to have a lad come in who would sing Japanese anime theme tunes. He didn't know what the translations were. He loved the anime. He knew the theme tunes so well. So he would come in, they'd construct the beat, and he would sing the Japanese lyrics over the top, and that was his thing, Japanese anime theme tunes. We've had an autistic lad come in who purely, exclusively does Daft Punk. Nothing else. Yeah, that's cool. We have a group that meets on a Friday night called Beats and Bars, which is, I say hip hop, and those young people in that group will go and say, go on, continue. I said hip hop, including grime, drill, old school boom bap, storytelling, and so on. So there's a huge genre there. On a Wednesday, we run our rock school group, which is purely for neurodiverse, transitioning and non-binary young people in a moment of crisis. So they're all doing everything from Green Day. I mean, they did a Talking Heads track the other day. They did some Ronnie James Dio the other day. Now, that is a band from the 70s, you know. So, yeah, we do all styles of music, and it's all proposed, led, and developed by our young people.
But that's class, with the different types of music, and I didn't know that you do it on different days. I didn't know that.
So on a Monday night at the moment, we're running our super quiet unplugged group. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is for kids who can't tolerate huge noise, and for kids who can't tolerate strong, loud personalities. Yeah. It's a very small, very quiet group, and it's unplugged, and they write songs. On a Tuesday night, we're in the bass in the Guildhall, doing hip-hop, grime, freestyling, cyphers and music production. On a Wednesday, it's rock school, which is for the non-binary, transitioning and neurodiverse. On a Friday, it's Beats and Bars, and then we run lots of one-to-one sessions, 60 hours every week of one-to-one sessions, which is for those really complex and vulnerable young people. Okay. At the moment, we're delivering in Fordwater Special School, Redwood Special School, Cowplain Resilience Centre, and we've just started a big mainstream school programme, which is really interesting for us, yeah. So, say one of my rappers, Kiz, much like me, had a bad time at school. Didn't connect with it in any way. Yeah. He blamed the teachers. Yeah. He blamed the system for not being appropriate to pick up on his needs. Yeah. So when we were offered some funding to go and do music in mainstream schools, I said, oh, no, this isn't what we do. But this person said, no, I think we need your sensitivity in the mainstream school provision we're doing. And it's kind of, no, that's not our thing. And they went, no, I think your thing is exactly what we're missing. It's like, interesting, yeah. So initially they turn around and say, will you come in and do music with our young people? We go, yeah. And halfway through the setting up of it, we realise there are no music teachers around. They're all English teachers, English language teachers, yeah. And then we eventually realised, will you come in and do music in our school to help develop and support the English language curriculum, yeah. And in fact, by year 10, they've got to understand the difference between a metaphor and a simile. They've got to understand what hyperbole is, yeah. And they've got to have all these these reading list of words, and actually they need to be standing up in front of the class and they need to be speaking. And you know what? None of our kids are doing this. We're unsuccessfully able to teach this to them. Cool. Can't help but notice your rapper there. It's like, yeah. He's just used 4 similes, 8 metaphors, and he's been hyperbole in 20 seconds, yeah. This rapper is doing what we are trying to teach these kids, yeah. That rapper was Kiz, who has a huge problem with the education system and schools and teachers. So we put Kiz into the school. And you know what? He spotted the one kid who wasn't able to stand up and talk like he was at that age. He was able to spot the kids with mental health conditions that he had at that age. And most importantly, he was able to listen, give a balance of power, as in, no, I'm not your teacher. I'm just a rapper coming through. Yeah, you are a 10-year-old kid and you are on equal level to me. Let's talk to each other as equals. Yeah, class. And lo and behold, every single kid who was not standing up is actually now recorded spitting bars over a beat. Yeah, and they've all written their own lyrics on topics of their own stuff. They've gone into the studio in the little corner of the room, and we've got like 30 minutes of something like 60 kids all spitting bars over 3 tracks. Yeah.
Class.
The teachers have turned around and said, that child hasn't got up and said anything ever in this school, ever. They are now just on a list of kids who don't participate.
Okay.
And it's just like, oh, don't worry, that kid doesn't participate. Carry on, just ignore them. And Kids was able to go in there and get every single one of those kids to excel and participate. And we're now doing that across 7 schools this year in the area.
Wow.
And so we do that on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Busy week.
Busy week.
And we run lots of projects on top of that as well.
That's class. I mean, okay, what I'm hearing there then is the fact that you lot relate to the kids, and you're saying that's important. But how important do you think it is to be able to relate to them? Let's say you hadn't gone through the same, and you was just doing it from best practice, quote unquote. What are your thoughts on that?
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Not with my kids. We have an initial interview. Yeah. So when a young person is referred to us, this is our tactic. Yeah.
Okay.
So a young person's being dragged in by you probation officer or something. Yeah. Yeah. Do they even want to be there? They've been told you like music. It's like, yeah. Well, we're taking to a recording studio. These young people, obviously incredibly apprehensive, incredibly disengaged, disenfranchised. Don't trust anyone ever. They never have, let alone the person who's taking them to this recording studio. Yeah. So we sit them down and we go, mate, you're going to be here for 5 minutes, and then you're going to go. First, young person's going, oh, great. And you go, this is not school. Yeah. We are going to show you around. We're going to make you an offer, and then you decide if you want to do it. That's the first leveling of power. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's your choice whether you want to do it. By the time I've said that, that young person has walked in, sat down, looked at me and gone, he gets it. Yeah. A young person is able to read you within 30 seconds to a minute, and they're going to make their choice. And you know what? Most of the time they're right. So again, when that young person, in that initial interview, we show them around, and we turn around and go, we are going to offer you like £1,000's worth of free studio time. Is that all right? And you've got some little kid who's been maybe paying for his own studio time in some really horrible place that's knocking out loads of drugs and everything. And you go, yeah, okay, I'll take it. And you turn around and they tell me, well, what do you want me to write? I go, no, you write what you want to write. Oh, wow. Yeah, and you go, yeah, cool. And then I'll turn around and go, guess why we're doing it? And they go, I don't know. Well, this is suddenly suspicion comes in. Why are you doing this? And I turn around and go, it turns out there are lots of people who are having a really bad week. And 2 hours in the studio, making music, having fun and being creative, does those people the world of good.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it. And that young person goes, yeah. And then when they tell me, they go, see, do you want it? And they go, yep. And that young person turns up early, they're really excited, they do their homework, they're completely engaged because they have been given the power, it's on their level.
Yeah.
Again, me and Mike turn around and go, tell me what music you're into. And again, they seem kind of reluctant. Well, no, and go, well, just tell me. And they go, well, you'll never have heard of them. And I go, that's the point. Me and Mike will write down every act you said that we've never heard of. And when you leave, we're going to spend an hour listening to that music and educating ourselves. Wow. And again, that young person's going, what, I'm educating you. It's like, hell yeah. You've got the experience, you've got the knowledge, transfer it over. There was a young lady called Robin who maybe 10, 15 years ago came through Music Fusion, and she had so much going on in her life that she was the typical thing we see here, which is flight, fight, or freeze. Yeah, when it could be something so little that can trigger someone. Yeah, and Robin would get that fight response loads. Yeah, to things that were never actually real, but because she was so traumatized. Yeah, she very defensive, very punchy, shouty, screamy, cryy, running around. Yeah. On early on, she turned round at one point and screamed in my face, "Hate you, Jinx!" and turned round and went to walk out. And I just turned around and said, "We love you, Robin." And she screeched to a halt and turned around and looked at me. I said, "Not in a creepy way." And she went, I said, "Are you all right?" She said, "Nobody's ever said they love me." It's like, wow, there we go. And it's the bravery to use words like love and kindness and being a human being. Yeah. Now, in the end, it took a little while, but Robin tried everything we did. She was one of the young people who did hip hop, did rock, did pop, went to every event. Yeah. She's still intimidating. Yeah. So when I turned round to my team of music leaders, a lot of them, all of them knew Robin. And when I said, "I'm going to ask her to be my boss, I'm going to ask her to be on my board of trustees at 21 years old, is that all right?" And my team turned around and said, "No, I can't have Robin as my boss." She's terrifying, yeah? Yeah, but is she honest? Yeah. She's terrifying, but is she terrifying for the right reasons? Yeah. If she told you to do something, would you do it? Yeah. Cool. I'm going to ask her to be on my board of trustees. So now on my board of trustees is Robin. In fact, I've got 2 young people on my board of trustees. But Robin is actually one of the most challenging young people we've ever had through, has been through so much that actually she's got the experience to be my boss. Now, I'm 52 and Robin's 21. And when we sit in a trustee meeting, and I'm asked to maybe leave the meeting because the trustees have to discuss something, I have complete trust that Robin will represent our organisation better than I could. You know what I mean? It's that exchange of power is what makes Music Fusion work. We empower young people. We give them a voice and a platform to be heard.
That's class. I mean, see, I'm guessing, because it's like a type of therapy in a way, yeah, for them. Do you have, like, not a checklist, but do you say, you said there that you give them like £1,000 worth of studio time. Let's say they come to one and then they can't, they don't come back. What do you do then?
So, the best thing, so that happens every, so right, there we go. If we get a young person who's under 13 years old, 12, 13 years old, and we ask them what sort of music you're into, we quite often get a reply, "I really love Black Sabbath, big Pink Floyd fan, Dark Side of the Moon, B-side of Dark Side of the Moon, brilliant." You go, "Okay, that's unusual for like a 10-year-old. What sort of music is your dad into?" "Pink Floyd, Black." You go, "Okay." So up until about 12, 13, children mirror the music influences around them, yeah. And when they hit adolescence, yeah, and they start to become their own individual person, they pick a style of music, and that style of music defines who they are, yeah. What clothes they wear, if you're a metalhead, or what your haircut is, your language and your values. Unfortunately, heavy metal has shit values. Deeply misogynistic, homophobic, racist. I mean, there's a baby metal, amazing Japanese metal band, yeah. Voivod, I think Japanese metal band as well. Skin, Roachford, and I've run out of non-white metal bands. That's really sad, yeah. If you look at how women are represented, they're topless and draped over Satan's motorcycle or something, yeah. So when a young person gets to 13, their music defines who they are. And the negative influences in that music, that's the most powerful time they're ever going to hit that person, yeah. If you look at hip-hop, it's even worse, carrying guns, knives. Oh my God, the misogyny and homophobia in hip-hop is profound, yeah. So lo and behold, when they come to us, they're just at that point when they're defining what their morals are, what is right and what is wrong. And we can point them in the direction of a more positive hip-hop artist. There are loads of good hip-hop artists. Stormzy's great. Digga D is challenging for us at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
So, we can help guide that young person through that time, yeah? But below that age, it is where we struggle, yeah.
Okay,
you know what I mean? In the end, we don't deal with children. We deal with young people becoming young adults, and our main aim and we see it. We're very lucky is to break that cycle that the young person's gone through.
Okay.
So say, a young person turns up to us and they're a victim, and maybe there's alcoholism and violence in their family, and they're the victim. And you're okay, that's quite straightforward. But maybe by 16, 17, they're drinking a lot. And in fact, they're acting quite violent. And you realise there's a cycle that's being reproduced here, yeah? And in fact, their kids will go on to be alcoholic and violent. So what we're here to do is using that music and positive role models is to break that cycle. And what we've been very fortunate to see, because we've been around long enough, is to actually watch our young people grow up and have healthy children who are no longer drinking, taking drugs, no longer in extreme poverty. So many people now work for us that earn a good living. I pay £22 an hour, above a living wage if you come and work for me. Yeah, nice. Our young people are actually in employment. There are people who are able to save money for the first time in generations. Yeah, when you've had, my mum and dad were in debt, and my granddad were in debt. We've never had anything. Anything we've ever had has been stolen or nicked or borrowed. Yeah, and what we're actually giving these young people, like now, we're going to help you set up a savings account, and you're going to put in £200 a month. You know what I mean? And it's the first time it's ever happened. Education for us is the best one ever. Yeah. So when I was younger, it never occurred to me to go to school or go to college or go to university. Going back to your question, what impact are we trying? What we're trying to achieve here? Yeah, we're trying to teach young people critical thinking, resilience, empathy, kindness, give them a sense of belonging, make them understand what their opportunities might be in the future and what their aspirations are and to achieve them. Yeah. Okay. There's a lad who comes through, and he comes from Winchester. He's got no functional English, no functional maths. He's 16. He goes to college, and at college they kick him out because he's not arriving. He's not turning up to his functional English. He's not doing his functional maths. He's trying to do music there, and they kick him out the first year. And that's it. He's out of the system. No qualifications. He's one of the best rappers that has ever come through here. Are you telling me his English language skills are unqualifiable? Mate, I think he's as eloquent as Shakespeare. Still, possibly more eloquent than your English language teacher. But not in a formal way, not in that narrow spectrum of education that it can be recognised and quantified. So we turn around to Cam and go, it's a shame you didn't get into college, isn't it? Yeah. How about university? And he's going, how do I get to university if I can't even get functional English, if I can't even get into college? It's like, well, there's somewhere called the Academy of Contemporary Music, one in Guildford, one in Birmingham, one in London, yeah? And they have an alternate access route to doing a degree. Yeah. So as an example, if you can demonstrate you've got English language and literature skills, you don't need the qualification, but if you can evidence it, they'll just tick the box and move you on. Yeah. So we sat there and we made this lad a LinkedIn account, and we turned around and said, write me an article. And he went, about what? And I said, yeah, good question, about what? And he went, okay. And he went away, wrote an article. It's a really good rapper. He's really eloquent. Put it on LinkedIn, got loads of peer review, got people commenting on it, feeding back. It's like, yeah, that's cool. So we go to his interview for his university, and they turn around and go, you don't have functional English. Can you demonstrate that you have functional English? Yeah, it's my LinkedIn thing. There's all the people that, okay, and I'm going to spit fire at you right now. It's like, okay. 10 minutes later, they turned around and said, you're on the course. In fact, you're on the 2-year advance. You don't even have to do the 3 years. Okay. So this is someone who aspirationally had nothing, and their opportunities were zero. But by the time they realised with us, it's like, no, my aspiration is to go to university and do rap and music production. Yeah. And how do we get there? And now he's excelling. He's absolutely dominating that course. He's going to come. I foresee him coming out of that degree kind of much like me teaching it and just staying on at ACM and having a good career there. So, that's what we're trying to build.
That's mad. I mean, that's a success story.
We've got hundreds of those.
Yeah, no, I bet. Have you ever had a case where you've given all your work, you've given all the time, and unfortunately they've gone back in to the situation that they were in?
Yeah. So if you can imagine, there's no immediate wins. It's not a quick win. There's no quick wins in this game. Yeah. So if a young person comes in and much like me, they're deeply involved in drug dealing and all the culture that goes with it, you can't change it in a minute. It takes time. And so a young person will come to us, and over a year, 6 months to a year, is when they change their life. Yeah. And at the end of that year, they're clean, they're straight, they're working for me, earning good money, paying tax. You know, mate, a lot of people out there are so dodgy, they never pay a pound of tax in their life. Yeah. By paying tax is a real way of legitimising your place in this country. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So we have legitimate legal citizens. Yeah. Right. Perfect example. There was a lad who was brought into us at 9 years old, I think. County lines. So he'd been running bags of like millions of E's down from London up to Portsmouth. We thought he's so young.
Yeah.
How do our methods work with that? And he turned up for 3 sessions and just left. And we thought it didn't work. 6 months, and he was referred to us. 6 months later, he knocked on our door himself. I went, I'm back and I'm ready. It's like, damn, where's your youth worker? No, this is me. Yeah. So I reckon nearly every young person that we don't engage with at the beginning, within a year, comes back going, you were right. So yeah, our retention rate is insane. And if it's that young person's choice to come in, then they come in.
Okay, so I mean, you've been going for
16 years.
16 years now, yeah. So how do you see it going forward? Are you going to take more of a step back? Are you still getting involved with everything, or how's it going forward?
What Music Fusion have that is unique compared with any other organisation I know is how small it is. Yeah. Because I meet every young person who's referred to us. Yeah. This is the only. My trustees say, stop rolling up your sleeves to making music, Jinx. It's not what you're paying you for. It's like, okay, you know. So I very rarely get to see the fun stuff there. But what I do get to do is meet every new referral that comes in, and me and Mike do that initial interview. And then over the next year, they pop in and I see them, and they're always running in and out the office, and I get to watch them grow. Yeah. But actually, the fact that everyone at Music Fusion knows every young person is a bonus. If we get too big, we lose that responsiveness. So what the plan is to run a franchise model.
Okay.
Lots and lots and lots of little Music Fusions that are all run locally, that have that local knowledge, and that are able to address local needs quickly. Yeah, within you know, there's an issue. Within 2 weeks, we want to be running an active project in that area to address that issue. Yeah. So yeah, the first one makes sense for us is Portsmouth. We did a big feasibility study where we got someone to run around the country and find out who else would appreciate a Music Fusion. And they came back with, they said Brixton and Bournemouth, the two places, Brixton being obvious, but Bournemouth not so obvious. But it turns out the poverty they've got there, the county lines, is a real issue. Yeah, we've had Bristol County Council approach us and going, can you come down and do some stuff for us? So we run a project called Mavericks. Yeah, and Maverick, the definition of a maverick according to us, is someone who doesn't follow the crowd. They are not a sheep. Yeah. It turns out that if you're a little kid and you're out in that estate and you're growing up, and you think, what am I going to do? And someone says, come and deal drugs with me. That's what we're all doing. You just go and deal drugs with them. You just do what everyone else is doing. Yeah. A maverick might turn around and go, actually, I'm a painter. I'm a gardener. I'm a mechanic. I'm an estate agent. Anything. I dare you to pick something and run with it. I dare you to go against the grain. Whilst all the drug dealers are walking that way, I'd like to see the one acoustic guitar player walking the other. Do you know what I mean? And that's what the Mavericks project is about. And we ran it locally for years and years and years. But last year was the first time we ran it in 10 studios up and down the country as a national project. And you know what astonished me? This notion of where do we go, what is the model, is I sat there in Havant thinking, right, we're a Music Fusion, we do this. If we're to find 10 partners to do it with, where do I go? So I just went, next, Brighton. I go to Brighton. And I look around, I go, is there any music organisation around here, say, doing hip-hop sessions with hard-to-reach young people, the kind of stuff we do? And they went, yeah, that would be Audio Active, speak to that guy. It's like, oh, cool. Meet up with Audio Active. It's like, mate, you're doing it in a different way, but you are addressing the same need as us. That's astonishing. Cool, right, pick the next time. Let's go to London, Brixton, get in touch with Brixton Youth Offending Team. Yeah, I don't suppose there's like a recording studio kind of music project that is accessing with the hardest to reach young people. Oh yeah, that would be Raw Material. It's like, okay, and where are they? They're downstairs. Oh, really? It's like, yeah, we moved in upstairs because there where all the young people are. It's like, okay, cool, right. Where do we go next? Birmingham. Oh, that would be the Pump. Yeah. Gloucester. Oh, that would be. Basically, every town I went to, you turn around and go, "Is there a Music Fusion here?" And every town's got one. Yeah. We are obviously addressing a need that is nationwide, and there are lots of organisations addressing it in different ways. What we did when we went up to each one of these 10 partners is we brought ethics with us. And a set of core values that blew their minds. Yeah. So in a way, yeah, we can set up a franchise. We can set up a room with equipment in it and some music leaders and put some young people in it. And there's one of those in every city. Yeah. But what makes us unique is the kindness and the power that we bring to any session. Yeah. Again, some of our partners that we've worked with have turned around and said, our young people come in, they sit there, they do what we tell them to do, and they leave, yeah? Whereas when you came in, you just literally sat down and went, right, what are we doing? And the young people ran the entire day. And that power exchange, those core values and those ethics are actually the real IP in our franchise model. Okay. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yeah. So that's where we're going now. I mean, you must get loads of referrals then.
We've got too many.
And so where's your next step? You said the franchise model, but like, where would you aim for first step?
We're going for Portsmouth.
Okay, yeah. Portsmouth.
So just because of the way it sits at the moment, I'm not going to tell you what space. We've got it booked. It's in place. It's being built. Yeah. And funding is in place, and it's looking like it's going to go ahead. But I'm not going to say anything to jinx it.
Nice.
But it is in Portsmouth, central Portsmouth.
Yeah. Well, happy days, man. Well, yeah, thank you for letting me in and telling me that. So yeah, where can we find you right now then? Where can we find Music Fusion currently?
We used to have a marketing budget. I remember the last marketing budget we had was $4,000 a year, and I looked at our waiting list. I thought, why are we marketing when we've got more young people than we can deal with? So I spent the $4,000 on sessions rather than marketing for that year. Okay. And since then, we have never had a marketing budget. Yeah, we're not big. We don't talk about what we do. Admittedly, we seek to end up on BBC a lot. So we are a good news story that you'll see around. But if you follow us on LinkedIn, Insta for the young people, Facebook for the adults, we're there. If there was one message we would put out, is that the work we do, much like every other organisation in our sector, has no government support, and any government support we have had is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. We rely on the goodwill of companies, corporate responsibility, and the community to make sure the work we're doing gets done. Yeah. So the best example, this is a platform for me. Thanks, Alec, for letting me have this. If there's something I could say, to make the most use of this platform, it would be, is someone out there putting on an event, and do they want to raise money for charity for that event? Think about Music Fusion. as one of your charities you might want to support? Yeah. If so, get in touch. The way Music Fusion is surviving at the moment is because there are so many people out there who have come across us, seen what we do, and just choose to raise a couple of £100 for us at their next Great South run, or at the gig they're putting on, or the tin they're shaking, or at their local church congregation. Yeah, this is sadly how charities function nowadays. It's off the goodwill of the community and community businesses. So if there's anyone out there who wants to make the world a better place, and they want to see their £10 make the biggest impact it can, yeah, I'm looking at charities out there who have a turnover of £10 million, and you look at that £10 you give them and you wonder how far it goes. We've got a turnover of 170 grand. That £10 pays for half an hour in the studio for a young person. Yeah. The most value of money you will get is by supporting Music Fusion.
Class. Nice. Well, thank you, Jinx.
Thanks, man.
And it's been magic, man. It's been
Excellent,
magic.
good.
It's been good, man. It's been good.
I bet you that's been an unusual one compared with the other people.
It's been good. I've
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. No, it's been really good. And no, man, I'm looking forward to what's next.
Excellent.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know who Music Fusion are?
No. No.
Music fusion art, is that just like different types of music blended?
Music fusion? What kind of fusion? Like, what is it? Like, I don't know anything about it.
Do you think that drill and rap, like drill music, is a good outlet for kids, given that it might ignite more crime going forward?
I guess it's how they, if they want to listen or express themselves that way, then it doesn't. People like what they like, you know? So, no? But maybe.
No, but maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just a bad stereotype.
Yeah.
I think there are so many positive, influential people in rap and drill. I don't think
Name one.
Megan Thee Stallion love female rap. Like I think it's just a bad stereotype. I think if it gets them off the streets and stops them doing crime, I think it's great.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it like makes them commit crimes or anything.
Oh, wow. I mean, you have just hit on the question, yeah. Is drill music a good thing or a bad thing, yeah? So we've had articles in The Guardian, we've been on BBC Radio 4, we've been on South, we've been all over the place with this, yeah? Now, if you go back to 4 or 5 years ago and you say, is drill music a negative influence on our young people? All of my music ears would go, hell no, yeah? Like this fine person was here, it's a stereotype, yeah? One of my young people turned around and said, country and western music back in the day was regarded as a bad influence, yeah? Rock and roll was a bad influence on the kids. Elvis Presley was regarded as a bad influence, yeah, at certain levels, yeah? This has always been a stereotype. And some of my young people are going, drill music is just the latest scapegoat for this, yeah? However, there are issues in our housing estates that are so bad that either to escape those issues or to be part of the community, these young people are getting into serious organised crime, like national level, international level organised crime at 10 years old. They are being groomed, and these groomers are using the music to do it. So 4 years ago, I would turn around and go, yeah, people blame the Sex Pistols, people blame country and western. People have always been blaming the youth's music. There's no denying drill music specifically has been weaponised by organised crime to groom young people. However, drill music itself is not bad, yeah. And in fact, there's a whole bunch of epically good drill music out there. And there are just some people who are making a lot of money out of glorifying that culture. And you know what? I don't think Digger D is actually county lines orientated, yeah. We had a Carla come through here, yeah. And the Carla turned around and said, when he was younger, all of his boys were going, yeah, we're gang this, we're gang that, and everything, yeah. And now they're all older, yeah. They've all actually, now they've got the money, they got out of the hood. They wouldn't want that for their own kids, yeah. And when you're actually looking at a whole bunch of rappers out there who are turning around and going, actually, let's make a positive impact using this music. Thankfully, that's still there. However, there are an awful lot of people running county lines who are using the similar genre to perpetuate their dastardly deeds. Shall I go on next? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I listen to like, I've never, probably not committed a crime.
Do you think
Probably not.
drill and rap are good ways to express yourself in music?
Depending on your environment, everyone comes from different backgrounds. I feel like drill and rap can really connect to someone who's from a certain environment. So yeah, I don't really get the idea that it's a negative connotation. You're just talking about your experiences. Some people obviously embellish it, but no, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Let's say we're talking about street heat in a tune or a track. Do you think it would, do you think that's good or bad?
Ooh, that's a stacked question. Case by case. Most times it's not bad, but obviously there are probably instances where it is bad. But nah, overall I think it's all right. Yeah.
Do you think rap or drill is a healthy way to express yourself as a young person?
I think so, especially if
There we go. So, here's a process, yeah? It's a process that we see every day at Music Fusion. There is an individual who feels like on their own they're not being helped. And they have negative thoughts that go round and round their head. In fact, I think every human being can relate to this on a certain level, yeah? And as long as those thoughts are going round and round your head, nothing's getting better. In fact, there's a slow erosion of your soul and your personality, yeah? If you write those thoughts down on a bit of paper as lyrics, yeah, what you have done is very slightly exorcised that from inside your head onto a bit of paper, yeah. You can now subjectively look at it. Whereas before it was a mesh of emotions and thoughts going around, now it's a definitive thing you've put on a page. You're looking at it, you've named it, yeah. Now, if you dare to be in a group of other rappers and say, I've got some bars I want to share with you, yeah, and you say them out loud, not only have you named this, but now you've owned it. Literally, excuse my language, this is now your biatch, as our young people might say. The best bit is when everyone else in that room turns around and goes, yeah, I've been through that. There are some people who, in fact, have been through it and are further down the line. And they can turn around and go, I was where you were, and I can see that through your lyrics and through your song. These are my lyrics. Look, this is where you could be. Yeah. And then there are some young, classically, the person who thinks they're having the worst time in the world ever, they think they are going through the worst thing that anyone could ever go through, and they write it all down, and we share lyrics, and they realise they're probably doing better than everyone else in the room. Yeah. The power of lyric writing is the power of healing, is the power of sharing your expression, communicating not only to yourself but to those around you. Yeah, absolutely. Lyric writing, half of what we do here is based around someone writing down how they feel, daring to say it out loud, and sharing it with the room.
it like gets you from doing something else that is probably less healthy, doing anything, whether that's creative or something that's probably better than most other ways you can express yourself, I think.
You hit on another good point here, yeah? When we turn around to our young people and go, you're here now writing lyrics and doing music, yeah? We turn around and go, if you weren't here, what would you be doing? And they go, it's like, what would you do? And I'd be getting into trouble. Yeah? Simply giving them something to do and somewhere to go, so they're not sat on a street corner getting bored and getting into trouble. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's nice. Music is always a good way to express yourself. It doesn't matter what kind. I don't personally like drill. Some kinds of rap I like, but drill is a bit intense.
Yeah.
All right. And that was that. Yeah,
Excellent, brilliant. Excellent.
So yeah, have you got any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Yes, the future of this country, when me and you are old, yeah, these young people are going to be running the country. Yeah. At the moment, they're not even making it to 20. We are losing more children to poverty, poor education, organised crime, and politics and mismanagement of this country, kids are dying. They're just not becoming adults anymore. I want our young people to grow up to be healthy adults and to do a better job of this country than we've done. Why not a better job of this world than we've done? Yeah, that's the change we want to make. This is not about so much about changing one young person's day. This is about changing that young person's week, that young person's month, that young person's year, so that they can go on and change the world. We want to make the world a better place, and we're doing it in our way. Join us.
Strong, man. Strong.
Okay.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And,
Your time
yeah,
is
man,
appreciated.
it's been good.
Likewise.
Very
Cool.
cool.
Excellent.
Thanks. All right, cool.